So this is a 2024 F150. We're doing front struts in this thing. Customer states every time he hits a bump it sounds like the whole front end's coming apart, so I diagnosed it. Got some bad struts in the front here, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to switch these over. Hopefully it helps someone out there. I'm gonna be using a lot of air tools. You don't need air tools, you can use hand tools, but air tools are kind of where it's at in the industry. So or electric tools. You can use a floor jack instead of this nice stand that I have to help you lift, lower, all that stuff. So I'm going to show you how I do these. I'm going to have to drop this upper control arm off and stretch all this out, and rather than take the brakes apart, it's easier if I just kind of let all this hang. There's plenty of wiggle room there, so we're gonna do this in real time, so if something goes wrong, you guys will see it and we'll deal with it. So but this is spinning right away, so I'm gonna grab onto this so I don't ruin it. There we go. And we got all new hardware here, and then just for the sake of the video, I'm not gonna pull out a torque wrench right now. When I'm finished with the video, I'll just get a torque wrench out and torque all my hardware. Very kind of religious on that, but just for the sake of time, let me show you guys the 18 millimeter. This was a 21. This is 18. Let me get up in here. There we go. 18's off. These over here, and then we have another 21 millimeter for the outer tie rod. Tie rod, and the axle nut, because we are going to be pushing on this. We don't want to hurt this axle. So out of everything here, this is probably the most important thing to get torqued to spec, just because that sets the preload on your bearing. You don't want premature bearing failure because you're too lazy to break out a torque wrench. So just make sure you're actually torquing that nut. So, outer tie rod. This is all loosey-goosey. This is out of our way. Hit this right here a couple times. Oh, look at that. One-shot deal, baby. Alright. See, you don't want that axle getting damaged. That's why we take that out, because we're going to be prying down on this. So we're going to drop off. There's an 18 millimeter here. Got a couple of 18 mils down here. There we go. Alright, we're going to drop the vehicle down here so we can get at these 18 millimeters in the back here. 18 mil. You can pop the hood and get them from the top if you pull this cover right here out of your way up top. You could probably air gun them off, but this only takes a few minutes. There's only 3 of them. I always like to start with the rear one, just because there is weight, gravity weight hanging down on the strut itself. So if I get the rear one out first and then get the 2 front ones out, it won't fight you as much. So we actually have new hardware for these nuts, so we're going to put them over here. We got 3 new nuts right here. So I like to use new hardware. All the way off. Oop, ratchet switched on me. There we go. See, as I start taking that last nut off, the strut starts dropping out, so it'll fight you to the very last thread here. So I'm starting with the rear one just to get it out of your way. That way the front one's more accessible here. Yeah, see, it's gonna fight me all the way to the last thread. Oop, and then my ratchet flaps on me there. There we go. There we go. Alright, now I like to take this little tiny bar I have here. Just kind of get somewhere solid here. And I actually sit on the bar. Make sure we got plenty of room in the... Oh, this dropped out. That's our problem. There we go. There we go. That popped up from here, so we had to make sure it's seated all the way so that the top can come out there. And there's our strut. Try to pry that little guy out of there. Boop. Come on. Come on, little guy. There we go. Heavy little guy. Alright, we are going to need 17 mil, which I should have on here. Yep, 17 mil. 18 mil for the new nut right here. And then impact. We're going to roll and leave that kind of all hang right there. That's all okay. Roll right over to the strut compressor. Unless you end up purchasing a quick strut assembly, you're going to have to swap the coil spring and the top head over. And we'll get this sitting in here real pretty. Check this up a little bit maybe. Put this down. I might want to bring him up a tiny bit more. There we go. So he's sitting level here. Oop. And just go until it starts moving here. There you go. See how that's moving now? That's compressed enough. So this is extremely dangerous. You never want to take the nut off without compressing the springs. It literally will turn it into a torpedo. So there's our old strut. Here's our new one. Send that up through. Come on. Okay. Pain in the ass sometime. Dust shield.
Fucking kick it in there, mate!
It'll go.
It helps if you squish it more.
Yeah. No, it's this stupid dust shield right here that's stopping me. There it is. Oh, I got it caught on that side. She wants to go. There it goes. There she goes. We gotta make sure we spin. That's the correct orientation here. Here's our new nut. There we go. Alright, we want to make sure this little notch with the spring here. Switch out our socket, 18 millimeter. Should maintain that. Beautiful. And then as we let the tension off, make sure that stays right there, right in that notch. Otherwise you'll have a whole nother set of problems. Alright, cool. Strut is switched. Let's go install it. See, sometimes they can fight you a little bit. I've been doing this a long time, about 12 years now. Various places. I was a GM Master Tech for 5 or 6 years. And now I'm on my way for my Ford certification here for Ford Master Technician. Let's see here. Orientation. Got that little guy and this little guy. So sometimes you have to turn the whole top head assembly. Alright, got that sitting in there. Gotta sit down on this so we can get the strut back in its area here. We might have to turn this a tiny bit. Here now, let's go up with it and see what happens here. So like I said, you don't need like a fancy stand like I got. You can do all this with basic hand tools, just more time consuming. And then you can do exactly what I'm about to do here with a floor jack. It's nothing special. All I'm doing is using it to lift my assembly in so that I don't have to work so dang hard, you know. And then we're just going to kind of guide it up so all those bolts line up. Like I said, we might have to turn that top hat a tiny bit just so the bolts go up through the holes here, but we might get lucky here. Looks like it's going in here. Yep, she's going in, so up we go. And as soon as it starts putting pressure, there it is. There it is. We're going to install our 3 strut mount bolts. And get those nice and tight. And I try not to speed up any of my videos. I try to do this in real time, so you know, however long it took me on the video is really how long it took me. You know, but mind you, I'm in a shop setting with air tools and, you know, all the right equipment, so a little bit different than doing it in your garage on the ground on a floor jack, but I've done it. I've done just about everything in my garage with basic hand tools, Harbor Freight transmission jacks, and I mean, I've dropped transmissions on my chest and rolled them out, and I've done it all for the most part. Tight, tight, tight. Get this back one tight. Everything's looking really, really good. And the big thing with suspension components, once you get this all back together and get the tires on, you actually set the vehicle on the ground. So it's loaded, everything's loaded, and then you recheck all your hardware. So these 3 I'll recheck once I get the vehicle down on the ground. Alrighty. Let's get those lower nuts on. Where did I put those? Let's see here. Here's one. Oh, here they are. Everything's looking the same here. There we go. This little guy on here. We can drop this little guy down now. We don't need him anymore. And this little guy. And zip them up with a 18mm. Check those once we get it on the ground. Make sure they're tight. Go back in, kind of got our axle back in. There we go. So this is the next kind of fun part. Just getting this upper control arm kind of bent down because it's under tension. It keeps wanting to spring up on you. So I always just muscle it down. Get it started a couple of threads. There we go. Make sure that axle's seated nicely. And kind of drop all this stuff back in. There we go. I'm going to wait to put the control arm in here and get this 18 millimeter. Beautiful. These are 21s. The sway bar end link and the outer tie rod end. They're both 21 millimeter. Beautiful. And we have a 10 mil for the bracket bolt, because 10 millimeter. And then we always want to rehang our harnesses back up. Engineering put them in these places for a reason, so make sure you put them back where you found them. The very last thing we have is this axle nut, which once we get it on the ground, I'll pop the center cap out of the rim there, get it on the ground, and we will torque that to spec. I'll have to look up the torque spec on this. But for now, we can just get it kind of tight here, and then I'll torque it from there. And that's it, guys. That's front strut replacement. Obviously, bolt your tire back on, torque all your hardware, make sure you're on the ground, check all your hardware, make sure it's tight, and should be good to go. Thanks for watching. Hope this helps someone out.